welcome back to another episode of your favorite video game podcast that you're currently listening to. I'm Andrew Lanza. With us, as always, the co-host with the most, Sam Hall. What's up, buddy?
Not much. And I feel you should have said the mo-host. That feels like that would have been rhyming-wise scheme, sort of, right? But I'm doing great. How are you?
Don't question my rhymes. Also, for some, I don't know how this happened. He was banned from the podcast, but somehow Bojan Nedic, our, friend of the podcast, apparently, is back with us. What's going on, Bojan? Glad to have you back, kind of.
Glad to be back. If you know the right people and know which hands to grease, you can get around bans and things like that. So yeah, I'm back.
Wait, you paid to be on this?
I can't say anything about
Here's
that.
Bojan's our sponsor. He'll just have a bit at in the middle. We'll throw to him, and it'll just be like, "Hey, I'm Bojan."
If I was your sponsor, I would ban you from talking about Destiny ever again.
Ooh.
Well, that's actually a good segue. So, Sam, do you want to maybe introduce this week's topic?
Well, today's topic, we're going to be talking about Destiny 2. We're doing a full deep dive, and we're actually going to focus more on PvP this time. Andrew, lead us off.
Full deep dive on Destiny 2. Here we go.
Nothing but Destiny 2.
Get
So,
comfortable.
hunters and warlocks.
Okay, we're trolling. We're just having a laugh, a goof and a gaff. This week's topic is actually, in a broad sense, we're going to talk about the future of gaming. We're going to take a look forward at not only like the immediate future, what kind of like the next couple of years has in store, but also a look to the future in the next, decade, 2 decades, whatever. We're going to just take a look forward kind of at the future of gaming. So I guess to start us off, I'll throw it to you, Sam. Kind of like in a broad sense, what do you think the immediate future of gaming, in your opinion, kind of holds for us?
Well, I think we're not going to get away from consoles anytime soon, at least for another 2 generations, like the PS5 and Xbox Series. Yeah, I think we'll see a PS6. I think by the time we would see a PS7, even though that's probably about 20 years from now, I think that's about when we might start seeing a more of a... what's the term? I don't want to say amalgamation, but it's going to become like you're going to get a device, but it's going to be not just your Xbox. It's where you play games on and you can play media on. So it's going to be something that's going to it's going to be a more uniform control thing for your home and stuff like that. Like, I mean, they've been talking about this for years, but I think like you'll get consoles will become part of a package more than anything else. But after that, online is going to be cloud gaming. I think is probably the very far future, like 20 years plus from now.
Bojan, what's your hot take on this?
My hot take, and this is a technology that's been teetering on the edge of dying, but I think it's just waiting for the right time, and that's VR. And I mean, it's also tied to the cloud gaming thing, but basically VR is kind of sticking around, kind of developing further, but it's still not reaching these mass numbers as of yet. But I think I hate to get dark here, but this COVID thing,
so fast, jeez.
People think that vaccines are going to solve all our problems, but it's going to mutate in countries without vaccines, and it's going to get worse, and we're going to spend more and more time in our homes. And
holy shit,
that's going to be the new life. So I think
should I be grabbing oil cans now for fires like those drums?
Put your tin hats on, but people are going to be really desperate for some more ways to socialize while still being safe, while other ones won't give a fuck. So I think a VR that can drop its price somehow and actually like hook people up so that they can hang out in a virtual space and as they would normally and play games or something. I think that's going to be the time for VR as like a mass popular technology.
Yeah, we had an episode of the podcast a few months ago now where we did a deep dive on VR, and we'll definitely touch on that again. For me personally, as far as like the immediate future goes, what I think we're really going to see is the rise of kind of like a two-pronged thing, which are kind of almost like intertwined with each other, which is like the Netflixification of gaming along with just cloud-based gaming. I think you're just going to have an account where I mean, like, obviously this already exists. This isn't some crazy future tech. It's just like cloud-based gaming essentially is you don't do the computing in a box that lives on your, shelf or your, home console, whatever. You don't have a home console, you don't have a computer, whatever. You have an internet connection, you have a controller, you have a subscription, and you essentially connect to a PC in the cloud or a console in the cloud, and that does all the computing, and it just streams. Yeah. You stream your inputs to the cloud streams it back. Obviously, the issue with that is you have to have a really solid internet connection, and then places like, for instance, Australia, or for instance, more locally, Canada, sometimes or a lot of times the internet connection, like the speed just isn't there. So you're already seeing it in a lot of places that they do have that. You have Stadia that just failed. You have the Nvidia streaming, like the cloud-based service. You have the Xbox. So you have all these, you have PlayStation, whatever. You have all these things where essentially you just need a controller, an internet connection, and a subscription, and you can play your game. You can, start at whatever point you want.
Well, if I can just interject.
Yeah, jump in.
The only thing, that technology, basically already exists, but it's as long as, especially North America, but as long as North American governments are slow on, and companies are slow on upgrading the internet, technology is always going to be capped by that. This is the limit. And what you really need is, high speed fiber for everybody.
What you're talking about is the infrastructure, right? The actual
infrastructure
cables
can't handle
yeah.
what we want out of it. The technology, I'm sure is it's good. It's in concept. It sounds amazing. I don't have to, worry about. I mean, I'd probably still be making my own desktops, but if I don't have to worry about that when I go somewhere else and I could just play my games anywhere, that'd be amazing.
Well, yeah, that's like I mentioned this in the other podcast. It's almost like how you have people who will buy, a record player. They're gonna buy a piece of vinyl. Yeah. They're gonna spend that money to get that high fidelity. And you're still gonna have those people that are like, I want to buy a PS6 or build my own desktop or whatever, so I can have the crispy frame rates, like the super high resolution, the ray tracing, yada yada yada. You're still gonna have those people, but I feel like that market is gonna become more niche, while the idea of cloud-based gaming is going to become more accessible. It's just going to be more look at mobile gaming. You put games on a phone. You put you have an install base of everybody, essentially. Almost everybody has a phone, so look at that install base. Everybody's just downloading games, whatever. I feel like the convenience of it, I feel like once the internet connection is going to be there, and as I said, I agree with you, Boyan, you need the infrastructure. That's why it's called the future of gaming, this episode.
We're dreaming of a future with better infrastructure.
With better internet.
It's such a millennial thing. Oh God, I hope somebody invests in the future.
Well, first of all, to speak to that, you got to live in a country that doesn't have essentially a duopoly where it's like Rogers and what is it? Is it Bell?
Exactly, Bell.
And Bell's trying to.
What is it out west? Is it Comcast? No, it's not Comcast. Is it?
They have Virgin and Comcast in the U.S. and
no. Oh, sorry, I'm talking about Western Canada.
Cogeco or something? I don't know.
No,
yeah, basically Canada's parceled off. And it's like you have one, maybe two options in your region.
Yep, Monopoly.
That just means they're like, we don't need to upgrade. Everyone's going to use us.
Yeah, Monopoly does not breed innovation, as opposed to what people are led to believe capitalism breeds innovation. It's like, nope, breeds monopolies, and monopolies are not conducive to innovation.
Well, the other thing I was going to mention there, Karl Marx, is that hey man, I'm with you, buddy. The power's just lying there in the streets. Lenin, probably a bad quote to put in this. But what Boyan touched on earlier was the COVID crisis. And what COVID's doing is everybody...
Wait, can you elaborate on that? COVID? Can you elaborate on... What is this?
Sorry, is it going to be cured by the time this episode comes out?
I don't edit that slowly, guys.
I was just about to say, it depends when Boyan gets it out.
We're looking for Monday morning. It's a Saturday. Maybe some good news will come tomorrow. No, but with COVID, everybody's staying at home. And what that's done is this interesting thing where it's put a huge demand on this very specific type of chip that's in almost all electronics that only a few companies make. So what this does with cloud-based gaming means... I think there's going to be a shortage of, right now there is a shortage of consoles. You can't get a PS5 easily or even an Xbox Series X. So I think as time goes on and we become much more of an online society, especially if, according to the doomsayer with the sandwich board saying the end is nigh, that is Boyan, Like if COVID
I'm
comes
just
back,
being real, yo.
yeah, no, I hear you, man. You're being real. But like, I think if we have another crisis like this where we're forced to stay home for another year, we're just going to be rapidly going online quickly. This is like, it's going to be go exponentially up. And that means with the demand on chips becoming higher, they're becoming rarer, gaming systems become more expensive. And I think after a point, somebody will say, you know what, Google Stadia may not have worked, but let's try this cloud-based gaming. You know, instead of spending like $1,200 on a console system, we now just spend $30 a month. We get all the games we want, kind of thing. So I think cloud-based gaming, I said earlier, consoles won't go away, and they won't for a couple generations, but cloud-based gaming is definitely like the far future of gaming, if not the immediate future.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there waiting for its time, I think, and I think the same for VR. I did want to say that just in related to what you're saying, I hope in the near future of gaming that there's more and better implementations of crossplay, and I like that there's a
excellent
growth.
point.
I like that it's growing in that direction, but I want to see more of it. And
Absolutely.
And I think cloud-based will also do something interesting where it'll be easier to play games that are exclusive on one system on the other. Like if people, if people can hack Steam into their Xbox in the future and just stream it via that and use their controllers, that's going to be crazy.
I'm quite surprised actually that Steam does well. I mean, Steam has the internet, but
there's the Nvidia one, and the Nvidia one is free, and I think it's like you can play an hour at a time and then you get kicked off.
Yeah.
Or something like that, but it is free. Like literally, you can just log in through like the Nvidia cloud-based app, whatever. And then you log into your Steam library, and then you can play anything as long as you have a screen and a controller or a keyboard or whatever.
Now, do you need? And this is a topic I think later on, but do you need a Steam controller?
I believe any controller.
Those are going to be hard to find.
That I don't know. I think it's anything.
The
I think
Steam controller isn't being made anymore, guys.
When we get into the dead future of gaming question, that's what I want to talk about.
That is a potential topic.
Because don't
get ahead of yourself.
I was one of the suckers who bought the controller and the Steam Link.
Did you buy an Ouya too? Jeez.
I don't know what an Ouya is, but okay.
You don't know oh, sorry. Can I just touch on one more thing? I'm constantly jumping back. I'm terrible about this. Well, my thoughts on VR is that it needs to have a year where there isn't just one killer app, but there's like 2 or 3. Because nobody's going to invest, well, not nobody, but very few people are going to invest the amount of money that a VR system, even if it's half the price they are today, for just like one good game. But if suddenly like 3 amazing games come out in the span of like a year or 18 months, I think that's what VR needs to take off. It needs to have a demand for the hardware that just isn't there right now because there isn't, or there aren't any enough amazing games for it. I hear games like what's the mouse game that you were talking about, Andrew? Oh, what is it called? Moss. Thank you. I hear that's great, but you need to have something like
it's free this month.
Well, you need like a Call of Duty. You need something that big to hit on VR.
Well, it needs to be a game that lasts for a long time. There's a lot of VR games that seem to be like either a single player experience or they're like a gimmick.
They seem to be very short, the few that I've tried. Like, it's kind of like you get the gist of the game within the first 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and some don't even last like an hour kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that is holding back VR is like not having that killer app or those killer apps. And like the reason is it's like it's so expensive and it takes so much computing power and render times and whatever to fully realize a 3D game that you get these kind of almost like little bite-sized tech demo games. So until like that processing power is there where it's, attainable to like, make a full, essentially like a full-length game, not just like, maybe like a 4-hour to like 6-hour game, then you're not going to see that. You're going to just see these, as I said, these like little almost like tech demos. And it's like it's like we get it. Like VR has been around for a while now. Like you have these little kind of like things where oh shit's jumping out at you. It's like, okay, fine, we get it. We're not wowed by that anymore. Like implement that in a good way. And I've played some really sick VR games. As I said, we're going to be rehashing. We're going to be retreading some of the same ground we did in the VR episode, but Like there's a bunch of great games, like as you mentioned, Moss. There's that British gangster game. I can't remember what it's called. That one's short and sweet, but it has some really great moments. Yeah, and like you just need to, as you said, Sam, like you just and I'm sure Boyan too. Like you just need those killer apps, like something that's going to be like, and not like a Skyrim. Like I'm not talking about Skyrim. Like something, something.
Wow.
The meme. Like we just
Take
need
that,
Skyrim
Bethesda.
VR.
Well, I played Skyrim on VR and I almost vomited, and not because
Yeah, I mean it's not made for it. I think I mean I agree with everything you said, and I think part of one of the killer apps that it needs is something that's a more of a social game. Like if it's something you and your friends can play in a space and like play together, and it's like something that's repeatable, that you could play many sessions of, that would be, I think that would be one of the things that would kind of break it out.
well, there's like Phasmophobia now. I think is like a cool one for that. A lot of people are playing.
Yeah.
I also saw like this other one. It's like you're a stand-up comedian, and then it's just like you're like a whole audience, and I think it's like kind of random who goes up, and then you're like a stand-up comedian in front of like an audience.
Oh God, that would be terrible / great with our group of
Yeah, that
friends.
sounds both fun or horrible, or both.
I will say though, interestingly enough, that we're talking about the cloud-based and VR, but I think with the rendering requirements for VR, maybe the future of VR is tied to cloud-based gaming, right? So that you don't. And if I was starting a company, I would say I would make it a subscription-based service like cloud-based, but as part of your subscription, you get like a heavily discounted headset. Something like, I don't know, $200, and you have to have like a year's subscription to a service or something like that, and then you have those things working together for you.
Well, also, but
it
the render
lowers the barrier of entry.
It's true, but the render times are more on the side of like developing the game.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see that too, but yeah, still, if there's it does require higher requirements, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. And one thing we talked about in the VR episode, Sam, was we had no indication that PlayStation was going to be it was going to support VR, but it didn't seem like it was going to innovate. And actually, I think last week, just very recently, they announced like an upgrade to like all the hardware, and like instead of like those like Move controllers, there's these like kind of like you like stick your hand in them. They're almost like
They're
little like
little
spheres,
gauntlets, or like sword
yeah.
handles for a rapier. Yeah.
And then apparently too, I heard as well that Xbox or Microsoft said that they're not going to be supporting like a VR with the new with the new Xbox, with the Series X. But I think apparently when you like plugged in some peripheral, it said like it like came up like, is this like a VR peripheral or something like that? So it's kind of like, if they're not supporting it, why is it baked into the kind of hardware, like into the OS? I mean, yeah, it's true. I'm just saying it's interesting. Anyway, that was one thing that's a bit of an update from our other episode, is we didn't know if Sony was gonna update their VR line of hardware, and it seems like they are. Well, it doesn't seem like they are.
Yeah, but this doesn't sound like they're jumping right back into full VR. It sounds more like, yeah, we'll have a couple VR support, but I'm not hearing like Sony's pushing VR like it did back when it first released the... Is it just called the Sony PlayStation VR? Is that what their thing is called?
PSVR, yeah.
PSVR,
VR, yeah. Yeah,
I don't know.
True. It's I enjoy VR. I think it needs to get to the point where it's not making me sick, and I don't know if it's going to be if photorealism or like higher frame rate is the key, or if maybe I'm just going to always be more inclined to be motion sick from it, just from my brain makeup. But I don't know. I'd like to personally not feel sick from it.
You're gonna have to wait until they can matrix it into you, right? Like until you have an implant in your head and you hook up a wire
right to my cerebellum. Yeah. So we haven't talked about either, but I'm a big proponent of AR. I think AR is so far not implemented to its full extent. I really think AR, augmented reality, I think that's going to be a huge thing. I mean, you've seen it already try to be implemented as a wearable technology with like Google Glass, and like that just looked silly. Yeah. Are we ever going to get to that level? Are we going to get to a Google Glass level? I don't know, but we already have augmented reality capable device in our pocket. You know what I mean? Your phone is that. I remember I talked about in the last episode, like how cool, like they already have at like, I believe it was like a League of Legends tournament where it's like they had like a CG dragon flying around the auditorium. Like it was like a big like esports live event. And you had like, you pull out your phone, you could like track this 3D model of a dragon flying around the arena. And like, how sick would it be if whatever you're playing Pokemon and you have the two trainers on each side and they're battling Pokemon, and you pull out your phone and you can see in real time their attacks. You could do that with fucking hold on.
There one?
No, well, what it is you can just open it up and have whatever's your camera is looking at be the setting for the fight or whatever for the capture. But it's
no, but there's a new Pokemon game or something in development where it's on your phone and it tracks the world around you and places them correctly.
Well, Pokemon Go has that, but they're not battling. You can like interact, you can like play with your Pokemon, and you can like see other people's Pokemon as well. So it is kind of that same technology, but now picture it like in like a stadium arena where even like whatever, you have fucking people playing Call of Duty, or you have people playing Counter-Strike, and then it's like you have the two people, like the two teams at either end, and you literally have like the full map. You pull out your phone, you see the full map in front of you, like all the fucking all the players, their like their avatars or whatever, their characters in the game moving around the map. You can have that with League, you could have it with whatever. How cool would that be?
I think the only thing that's really holding back AR ideas right now is the fact that, okay, I liked Pokemon Go when you could like look at the street corner and there's a Squirtle. Woo! But the problem is with such a drain on the battery. I think part of the thing that's holding back AR becoming as universal as it should be, and it would genuinely work, is the fact that it's right now it seems to drain technology because you're essentially just recording or watching like through the camera lens. So I don't know if it's approved, but it's like. And going back to Google Glass, actually, I always thought the solution to that is because first of all, I found nobody likes to wear technology blatantly. Like, it's one thing when it's like a watch, but nobody wants to have a giant, like, part of Google Glass wasn't so much what it did, which was whatever, but it was the fact you're obviously wearing Google Glasses. Like, it was very blatant. I think what they need to do is make something that you put on the inside of like the arms of the glasses, and it does the projection onto some kind of coating on your glasses, regular glasses, or a pair of regular, like, non-prescription glasses you can buy. So you just look like you're wearing glasses, and that's when I think AR would take off more as a wearable thing.
Yeah, and it'd be super cool just having like direction, like say you're walking somewhere and you're just like, or even not even walking, like say you're taking the subway and it's like fully like, okay, get off at this stop, and you see your path, walk up these stairs, go out this exit of this build, like the far exit of the station building, walk along like 2 blocks, go up the stairs, blah blah blah, elevator to the office that you want to go to. Like it'd be super cool.
I 100% agree with you, but I feel like it would have to start on the street, because if you're on a subway platform and you need like guidance to walk upstairs,
I think
maybe technology is not for you.
The problem with, I mean, an extension AR, but also like the problem with why Google Glass didn't take off was, usually when these companies take our information without us knowing or do whatever with it, it happens in the background and we can ignore it. But when people were wearing these glasses, other people were creeped out.
Yeah,
because they
Absolutely.
were invading
It's
their
like,
privacy.
are you recording me right now?
In real space, it's one thing to get your privacy invaded online. This is different.
Well, it's true.
So I think that stigma will always be an issue until it's completely easy to. Even when it's easy to hide, people will still be creeped out by it. I don't know. I don't know what the solution to it, but I don't think like public wearing of AR stuff is gonna go that well.
Well, that's why
it really does something amazing.
With my idea of it just going on to regular glasses, it would be something that somehow, and I don't know if this is possible or if this is just pure magic that's going to happen because of technology, but it would be like you would see it on the inside of your glasses, but nobody else would see it. But then again, you know what? You do bring up the good point about privacy. I think that might make people even more paranoid. Be like, hey, you're wearing glasses, right? Yeah. Are you recording me? It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Again, people don't like technology being warned, and they don't like the invasion of privacy.
It's like somebody holding a camera up to your face almost.
Yeah, it's so blatant. Basically they have to find a way of doing it that's so well hidden, and so hard to detect that people will just have to like learn to live with it. And I'm not putting it past these companies, because I know Google Glass was shut down, but then they started a new project on the same technology to try and do it a second time, but better. And that's still ongoing. So, I like the idea of AR, but I think I keep having these ideas that I would like that both AR and VR have some kind of something closer to an arcade experience. But now who knows, this pandemic, you can't have really people going to the same building and putting on glasses that other people put on or something like that, you know what I mean?
I have been to a VR arcade back in the before times, and it was cool because you had the whole setup that and like this is like the pro high end. This isn't like a PSVR.
Exactly, yeah.
And they had like the whole little space. Yeah, they had like the whole space for you, whatever. And then I even drove in, like they had like the little car type thing that you could drive in. But yeah, it was cool. Anyway, sorry, go on.
I just don't. I mean, there's some roadblocks there for AR and VR. I will say my personal dream for AR is to do the whole in scenes in like war movies when there's a bunch of generals around a table like pushing pieces on a map. I want a strategy game where it literally it's projected onto a table and you're moving physical, like you're telling troops to go from place to place or whatever. That kind of strategy game would be incredible. For all the armchair generals out there, that would be the game.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Well, if I can jump in on that, I've always thought that the problem with VR, now this isn't about AR, this is going back to VR for a second, is that their games are always mostly about movement and motion, doing stuff, and it's like, okay, I'm flailing around, but what I think would work great for, especially for like home computer systems or even video games, is an AR strategy game like a Civilization or Stellaris or something, where you put on the goggles and then you're just this person sitting inside high-tech chair of the future or like a throne room or whatever.
Yeah, Minority Report that shit, you know what I mean?
And you've got like the whole map on the table in front of you in the world, and you're like, I'm doing, exactly, you said Minority Report, hand gestures, zoom in on this fleet, see what's going on in this city, that kind of thing, but you never have to move, so your body goes, oh no, this makes sense what I'm seeing because I am sitting the whole time.
What was that terrible movie, a good book, what's it called, with Asa Butterworth or whatever this fucking name is?
Ender's Game.
Yeah, Ender's Game. Yeah, I remember him like controlling a fleet, not knowing it's a fleet, thinking it's a game, and it's just that kind of
spoilers for Ender's Game, by the way.
Who cares?
Yeah, let's spoil away. You know what? I'll tell you. So basically,
I was in high school when I read Ender's Game. Honestly, if you haven't read
also
it,
Orson Scott
I
Card is a
haven't read
piece
it.
of
I haven't
shit.
read it or seen it.
It's too bad.
The author's a terrible human being.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you have to be able to like separate the work from the author, or knowing anything about the author. If you can't do that, then maybe don't support it. But
well, that's a whole other issue.
That's a whole thing. But the story is still good as the story, and but the movie was terrible. But anyways, that kind of like fleet control of a thing, like that would be so fucking
VR
cool.
doesn't have to be always like running down corridors. It could be literally sitting in a chair and doing something interesting. It's not like Moss is like that, right? Because you don't really move yourself. You're just moving stuff around. To say,
Moss, you're like, it's like the feet planted. I like the feet planted VR. Like Beat Saber, Super Hot, Moss, all that kind of stuff. You're like feet planted VR, where it's like you're just standing there, you're doing a thing, and then you move on. Like playing like flight sims. I remember the first thing I played was Star Wars. I can't remember what it was. It was some Star Wars
pod racing.
No, it was like a flight thing.
Squadrons?
No, it wasn't Squadrons because it was a while ago.
Okay.
Anyway. It doesn't matter. And I was just like, holy fuck. I was like, head first jumped right into that. I was not doing good.
And the worst part about it is that that's one of the things I hate about the fact that it happens to is it doesn't happen to me. And it means it's not something where the industry goes, oh, everybody has this happens, let's deal with it. It's more of like, well, some people it works and some people it doesn't. They don't have that motivation to make sure that people who are affected like as badly as you seem to be can at least play as well. Because I played Skyrim VR. I did like the whole thing up to Riverwood or whatever the name of that first town is. And I was like, yeah, this is fine. Just walking and sort of didn't really bother me much. But yeah.
So I don't have VR, but there is a game that I really want to play on VR and that I have on just regular. But have either of you played or seen videos of Star Trek Bridge Crew?
Yes.
I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, that looks just like a lot of silly, like get drunk with your friends and command a Star Trek starship kinds of fun. From what I've been seeing of it.
Is that VR only? I know
it's not VR only. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
VR is probably the better experience, but it's not VR only. And it's a lot of fun. Just especially if you have a bunch of Star Trek nerds playing it who aren't too serious.
No,
yeah.
it would be fun to take charge of an X-wing.
Yeah. What?
Take that,
You
Star
say
Trek
an
nerds!
X-wing?
Yeah, you fucking Star Trek nerds.
All right, moving along.
I love Star Trek, by the way.
Moving
Even
along.
Discovery.
All right, let me move it along, please. For the love of God, let me move it along.
3 points on that.
What kind of technology do you think we're going to be seeing, like maybe in the more long term? You think this is going to be like a Matrix, like a Ready Player One, alternate reality, like jack into the mainframe reboot style? What do you guys think? Sam, take it away.
I think you're on the right track. I think there's going to be a lot more time and science. Like, this is far future now, like in the next console generation.
Oh, yeah,
like, we're talking like mid
yeah.
21st century. They'll start really trying to concentrate on stuff that fools your nervous system, not just simply wearing goggles, but like haptic response and getting to a point where they can trick you with smells and even taste in theory. I think that is the way it is going eventually, but we definitely aren't at that point yet. We're just in the baby stages, and VR is like the first step of the first rung of a long ladder to reach that point where you're completely like full-on cyberpunk, like jacked into an alternate reality kind of thing. And it'll be great because
coincidentally, that's about the time that Cyberpunk will be fixed.
I love your optimism.
Do you think, like, see, for me, I almost see it as the movie WALL-E when they go up into space and everybody's just in those little like hover chair things and everybody's just like got this like little like VR headset on. It's like unfortunately that's almost what I see gaming like, is like you're just gonna be in this chair hovering around in this VR, maybe not in space, who knows, but I don't know, that's what I
You're
that's
talking
what
about cocooning? Cocooning, it's the concept of like having to go outside to do less and less for your entertainment and living and stuff like that. So
sure, yeah,
that's absolutely going to be part of the future.
AKA,
like along with
I've been cocooning over this last year.
100%. I think that would also absolutely be a part of it. Like, people will do less outside. You'll eventually just have this unit you enter into, and you probably also work from it as well if you can do your work online, kind of thing. So, Bojan, thoughts?
I have a hot take on this. It's not going to be anything like that. We're going to go back to the original game, the very first game, the very first toy, which is a stick and a I don't know.
Is this
rock.
after the nuclear holocaust?
Yeah. The pandemic somehow leads to a nuclear holocaust. Complete.
Gentlemen, have we tried
failure,
nuking the vaccine?
Climate change,
virus.
and we're just gonna, technology is just gonna be, dead, and we're
A stick in a hoop running down the street.
Yeah, kids are gonna play outside again, and fist fight and whatever else they did in the past.
So to you, kids outside were either fist fighting or playing, which it is actually pretty much that's what it was as a child. You were either fighting with your friends or playing.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Honestly, yeah, there was like a
And
little bit of
climbing things
rollerblade.
is important too.
There was like a little bit of
part of playing,
rollerblading
but
in
sure,
there,
yeah.
but like otherwise, yeah.
I'm that is my statement. I don't know how long of a future you were talking about, but the length I was thinking that sounds
Right now,
about
if you cut to Boyan's apartment, he's got this giant EMP device. He's like, I'll take them all out. We'll go back to when we didn't have electricity was the devil's invention.
Well, honestly, I mean, okay, let's pretend that there is no climate change.
I can't.
There are no nuclear armaments. What would the technology of the future be, in Boyan's opinion?
The water wheel, like the wheel that, like, in a mill or something like that.
I mean, it's kind of I don't know, other than like something holographic, Star Trek holosuites or something where it's just a holographic projector or something that works really well. I mean, that kind of technology I get, and obviously. I think it would take something extraordinary in terms of the world's like development technologically for people to be okay with just getting all sorts of like mass amounts of people and like children being okay with just getting implants that allow them to tap into some kind of VR or AR world or whatever. It would have to be like what you were saying, Lance, where it's something you can wear that doesn't have to physically go into your body to be able to work. But yeah, things like that. That's long future.
Yeah. Do you guys like what do you guys think is, I mean, we've talked about now the future of gaming. We've talked about kind of like the near future. What do you think like the immediate future of gaming is going to be? Let's walk it back a little bit. What do you think what do you think is around the corner? What do you think is going to be like the next big thing? Like, I feel like right now ray tracing, that's like the hot topic. That's like the buzzword of the now. Like, you had like 1080, then like 4K. Now it's like ray tracing, like, yeah, like 60, like, you know, high frame rate. I feel like right now ray tracing is like the big thing. What do you think the next big thing will be in gaming? This one is a bit of a curveball.
I would say some kind of like, I mean, this might be too far in the future, but monitors that aren't flat, like they actually give it an illusion of depth to them. Like, because even if you're playing a 3D
kind of
game
like
on
layers, like kind of like layers on it.
Yeah, like it would be like you'd be looking into a small.
Well, they had the
box.
3DS, the Nintendo 3DS, so I can see that.
Yeah, but something like that as a.
No, but that's a software thing. That's not a hardware. You can do that.
Well, then.
It's just like a software that would have to make it, and you'd have to. Have
I would say then.
Tracking. And you'd be looking inside
the universal space. Like it would be like you have a little sort of something on your neck or whatever, something small that keeps track. But like I think the future at some point will go to that, like trying to convince you that the monitor in front of you is more adding that third layer of depth that isn't there right now easily. I think that'll become ubiquitous.
How would that work in gaming though?
Like your HUD would kind of be like a little bit popping out.
So it's like pseudo.
Yeah,
VR,
it's basically like VR,
like...
but instead of wearing goggles, you're just it's like you're looking into a window that lets you look into the world of your games.
Yeah, so that's like literally the Nintendo 3DS, but like in a monitor form.
Yeah, like yes, the 3DS has done it, but yeah, as you're saying, I wanted it in a more accessible to everybody in a more ubiquitous way, and for games to be designed for that specifically. Because I think with current perspectives, it'd be one of those weird things where you need to tweak it a bit. You couldn't just make a 3D first-person shooter work in that environment. You have to do something with it. But
well,
yeah,
the original
consoles is really still the future for me right now.
Like the original 3DS was definitely like didn't have that head tracking technology, and you had to like kind of like keep your head like super still while you looked at it. But then with the new 3DS, they had like kind of like that, I don't know if it was like head tracking or eye tracking technology or whatever, but it was a lot better where you could actually kind of like move your head and it wouldn't just go to shit.
When did that new 3DS come out? Because I bought a 3DS like 4 years ago.
I think you had a regular DS. The new 3DS came out a little bit after the one you bought, which I literally upgraded to because I was like, this one has.
I was going to say because mine didn't have head tracking, but
and it did have like a little nub on it, right? Like this one had like a little like on the right side had like a little nub.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Bojan, what do you think? What do you think the next like the new craze, the new next buzzword's going to be?
I mean, I don't know about buzzword. I mean, that's who knows what that's going to be. I don't even have a theory on it. I think. For gaming in the immediate future, there's going to be, I think, more of an evolution. Like, how do I say this? It's gaming as a medium or media is becoming more sort of mature culturally, in terms of like more generations now having grown up with it and seeing it as a like a normal whatever entertainment thing, and it's obviously. In terms of how much money it makes, it's our long surpassed film. But in terms of what it does with the medium, I think we're going to see some really exciting things coming up. Just because there's a level of sort of cultural maturity in society in regards to that technology.
I 100% agree with Bojan. I think. Using the movie parallel, we're starting to enter the 1970s of video games when it went from big studios and control everything to now we're going to start seeing a lot more sort of small, more personal stories told in video games. I think the future, as Bojan said, isn't just Call of Duty, FIFA, whatever. You're going to get a lot more of these sort of tiny little games that are little niche, tiny stories to tell. 100% on that.
Yeah, and think about all the times that we hear like some hot game comes out and everyone's playing, everyone's buying it all of a sudden. And then you read, oh, this was developed by a two-man team
Valheim,
or whatever.
Stardew Valley.
And that's, I mean, Valheim and Among Us.
Stardew Valley's just one dude.
Too, but like, yeah. And that sort of stuff is I don't think it's an anomaly anymore. I think that's part of a growing trend of whether it's things like Unity, bringing a lot more people access to being able to develop games on a decent enough engine, or just in general, people more interested into going into that line of work and also being able to pull something off like that without massive numbers. I'm excited to see what the future of that is. Like, there's a lot of indie and early access games that I think are garbage and are scams and whatnot, but there's a lot more that, they come out there and they're like, oh wow, this is really good. And it just needs a little bit of time and it'll be great.
100%.
Or it's great already, and I can't believe two guys did this.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, no matter what, at the end of the day, no matter what it is, whatever the art form is, it's like, it should be serving the experience. It should be serving the storytelling. It shouldn't be like when something is a gimmick, it's going to fail. When something is like a buzzword, like I was saying, it's not going to stick around for a long time. When those things are, nice things, like when those are the cherry on top, like that's what's good about it. It's like, let's have that new technology serve the story. And yeah, like what you're saying is like, this technology is getting into the hands of more of a kind of prosumer market, or even a consumer market with the games like Dreams and stuff like that on PlayStation, where you have these smaller games or even like, RPG Maker back in the day, where it's like, I'm sure those games, not only people made cool games with that limited technology, but they probably went on to further their career in that field. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Putting that technology in people's hands at not only an earlier age, but like, just at a more widespread level, it's always going to be a good thing.
Yep.
100%.
Hundo P. So what do you guys think the cultural impact is going to be of gaming? I mean, we've kind of seen gaming go through this kind of like, it was, niche for nerds, and then kind of like, hit the mainstream with, Atari and shit like that. And then you had the video game crash, which famously, was not saved by Nintendo, but, very closely saved by Nintendo. And, then you had the backlash of, parents against, like the violence and et cetera, et cetera. What do you think the cultural implications moving forward of video games do you think video games will have on the culture?
Well, I think, like, as the oldest person here, I can tell you the difference between when I was growing up with video games. As you mentioned, it's a very niche, like, only nerds and whatever played video games. Like, just, it was such a small little segment of the population, and now it's just everybody does it. I think what'll be interesting is we're now getting to a point where the adults of society, the people who are between, like, 30 and 60, grew up playing video games. Like, and I think it's just going to become more commonly accepted as a legitimate art form or medium of entertainment beyond how it used to be treated. Video games will become more and more mainstream. Like, esports now is becoming a huge thing. I think that competition within video games and just video games has just a commonly held, every household has a video game, like every household now has a TV access, will be the future, basically. And like, we're gonna get to a point where retirement homes have like, oh, we're having a GoldenEye night, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna touch on that, but yeah.
I'm just saying, video games will eventually be like how we consider movies now. They're just a part of the whole society structure, and there's no. That's a little off from the mainstream. It's just like, oh no, everybody knows about movies. Everybody knows about video games now.
I almost feel like you see this kind of, for lack of a better term, gamification of everything. I almost feel like the worlds are really gonna blend, where I don't know if it's gonna be like a Ready Player One type thing. And now for people that don't know, Ready Player One is you kind of like put on this VR headset and you're kind of transported to this world, and this kind of world almost acts as like a hub world to other types of games and whatever. I almost kind of like feel like, and now this is not just talking about it as like a cultural implication, but just like kind of like moving forward, like I just feel like there's going to be the gamification of a lot of different things, like you're almost like your workflow at work, just the way you interact with your media. Like, for instance, you could be watching a streamer on Twitch or whatever, and they all of a sudden plop up a link to join whatever they're playing, some battle royale game. I'm sure battle royale games are going to be dead in the future. They're already on the way out. But anyway, like, you can click the link and you're just instantly playing with them in their on their server or in their race or whatever. Maybe they built some crazy thing. You click on the link, boom, you're instantly on this crazy track that they built, or this crazy like skate park they built, or whatever, or this like crazy world they built in Minecraft or whatever. Like, I just feel like there's just like the whole gamification of like media and workflow and everything. I feel like that's just gonna kind of happen. I don't know. That's kind of my hot take on that, I guess.
Spicy.
Yeah. Well, I guess on two different things. On what you were saying, gamification is making me hate any games that have similar systems, if you know what I mean. Like skip the dishes was the one that I remember recently because I used it recently, that has gamification in it now. It's like when you order stuff, you're getting points. It encourages you to do different things to get more points and stuff like that. It's just dude, I just want to order some food. Like, can you not? And I think gamification, I might not be the only one, but I think gamification of things is going to reach a peak and die. People just, sometimes you just want to do a thing. You don't want to play a game out of your work or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't think the technology will go far. Is what I'm saying, or maybe that's what I'm hoping for. As far as as far as what you were saying, Sam, it's gonna be really interesting when Gen X and millennials are in old folks' homes. But and I think on the bigger topic of the cultural impact of gaming, that's gonna be I can't say what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be very interesting because you're having generations of kids growing up with parents who played video games and played video games with them. Previous generations might have been, playing the ball in the yard,
going to a movie together.
Around. Sorry?
Oh, going to a movie together, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
like it's a family outing, like you go play video games.
I'm not saying that stuff would disappear, but like I think this is just another one of those normal things, and I as a gamer, I think it's kind of beautiful to be in a world like that where you and your dad can be, I don't know, playing something and be competitive, or you're playing God of War or something, or not God of War. I don't know.
Ooh, I don't know if that's a good game to play with your dad.
Dad and son. Anyways, and basically games where you can play as a family, but that aren't hokey family games and stuff that are creating a whole generation that's going to view gaming completely differently, because it's going to be completely in their lives, and it's not going to be something that they're going to be feeling like they're different or weird about, like some of the kids did when I was growing up.
I got something to add on to that actually, and you just literally put this idea in my head. With the focus on family and becoming a more thing, I think we're going to see a lot more co-op games. Like kind of, instead of like most games, if you're playing online, you have it's a competition, whether with an individual or the other team or something. Like you're always trying to beat other players. And I think what you'll start seeing is more family oriented, like more cooperative games, especially in like 10, 15 years time, once the millennials themselves are starting, not millennials, sorry, the Gen Z is starting to have kids. At that point, they're going to be like, I love playing video games. I have a kid. Why don't I play a co-op game with my kid? We were both happy kind of thing. I think that might be a weird sort of future niche that isn't too big right now, but will pick up a lot of steam around then.
And there is a game right now, by the way, that's kind of doing that.
There's several co-op games, yeah.
I mean, but the one that just launched, It Takes Two, and it's basically, I think it's almost like aimed at 30-something-year-old parents.
Isn't it about divorce? Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it's
Take that, parents.
You play as a wife and husband who are having difficulty in their marriage, but like the kids, I don't know, wish, crying or whatever, turns them into toys in this world where they have to solve these puzzles, and they have to play cooperatively together. Yeah. And that game has done a bunch of games like that where you have to play cooperatively in this puzzle solving.
It's like one company that does, right? Like they did that that one with the prison escape like a year ago or something.
I'm not sure about that one. I know there's like Two Brothers is another one or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that the prison escape one? The Two Brothers one?
Yeah, I think this is in a way their third game. They did the prison escape game, then the Two Brothers game, then this game. I think.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I always wanted to give that prison escape game a try. I hear it was really good on the first playthrough, and then never really, like, there wasn't a lot of replayability.
Yeah, I find a lot of games are like that are story based.
And sometimes that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as they're not.
There's movies
expensive.
I'm glad I've seen, but I'll never have to watch again.
Yep.
like David Lynch's Dune. I'm kidding. I'll watch that any day of the week.
All right. Well, I guess to wrap it up, I just kind of want to talk about maybe what are some past, technologies that failed, or maybe some like past things that were hailed as like the future, or like some other kind of like buzzwords that are like, ooh, this is gonna be like the next hot thing. What are some fun failed technologies that you guys can maybe bring to mind?
I have one, but do you want to go first, Bojan? I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, the first one that comes to mind, and it's the one that pretty much taught me to never be a early adopter of technology, because it's just too risky. That's going to be a massive waste of money. Which is I bought the Steam Link and the Steam controller, which I pretty much used, I think, once. And then I realized that every time I wanted to play a game, it was going to be a whole complicated thing to get the controller to work with that game.
Was it? What was so complicated about it?
Especially early on, I like there wasn't it, like basically nothing. It didn't just work. Like I had to go and find some dude's creation of a document that made the controller.
Is it like you had to download profiles for games?
I think so. I think it was something like that. Honestly, like I said, I tried it and it was just like it felt like a headache, and then I never tried it again. And then I did try a couple more times after to make the controller work, even when it was like better, like more updated and whatnot. I was still having the same problems, and I was like, maybe I was doing something wrong, but like the technology was just made it too much of a hassle. And even the streaming to my basement from my PC, like the stream was terrible, and I mean, it was too dependent on me having incredible Wi-Fi or really good internet. So it's like the problems of cloud gaming without any of the advantages, I guess. So it's just
how long ago was this, by the way?
Oh God, I'd have to
like
look up.
5-6
I bought
years,
it fairly
right?
early on when it came out, so I don't know when that was, but it's been a while.
Sorry, just as a quick sidebar, that's the one with like 2 thumb pads instead of sticks, right?
Yeah. It felt amazing in the hand.
Like, I was always curious to try it, but they don't make them anymore.
The comfort of it and the like intuitiveness of what to do when I could when I could actually control something. It made a lot of sense and it was really cool, but like unfortunately, it's one of those things where they made it so customizable that it really would have required developers to develop a control system for that controller,
right?
For games that they already had previously released, and I think that was kind of the Achilles heel of it, is that it would need like mass adoption as like a standard. It would have to become popular enough that it's a standard for these developers to make control schemes for it. Or you'd have to rely on some dude who might have done a good job, who might have not, who knows, and it's just like a whole, crapshoot.
It's so crazy, because when they came out, I didn't pick one up, but I just looked, I'm like, oh, a new type of controller where you save wear and tear on your thumbs by just having the pads. Like, I didn't realize it was not universally accepted. I figured you would just plug in and be like, oh yeah, this is just basically a controller. It's a different brand, but it works fine with everything. I didn't realize there was a whole hassle just to set it up.
Yeah.
That's
There might have been some games, but like other games not so much.
Yeah. Can I do my technology?
Yeah, jump in there.
And here's the weird thing. I don't even think anyone ever really tried to push it, but it kind of popped up a little bit and I haven't seen it in a while. Light guns. Do you remember like the Super Nintendo came with like the Duck Hunt gun that you would aim at your screen to shoot? And like it's also in arcades. It was this technology that kind of like, I remember when in the 90s when it kind of came out, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of interesting, and it just never became a thing. People either want VR or controllers and keyboard. Nobody wants
every arcade has a
Captain Power, I think it was, did it with the ship you aimed.
Every arcade has multiple light gun games. What are you talking about?
But what I'm talking about, it never became a home technology. It never became something that like
Super Scope. Super Nintendo had the Super Scope.
It's still a gimmick. Tell you it was good enough for a gimmick, basically.
I'm just saying it never went away.
Well, no, yes, technically those things still exist, but so do like old books from the like 1300s. It's still around, yes, because it hasn't disassembled into its molecular components. But I mean, I can't think of any gaming system in the last that had the light gun or light gun equivalent. I mean,
well, I think it's a whole
thing like where you just
yes.
Well, you had the handle, but like
okay, hold on.
Even that kind of went nowhere.
I don't think it's more. I think it's more of a. And I don't think that's a technology thing. I think that's more of a social thing where parents didn't want kids pointing guns around the house at the TV and shit.
Well,
I think that was because like that was like the biggest thing was like you had like that like Mortal Kombat, you had that like Night Terror attack game or whatever, and then you had the game that came with the gun, with the light gun. So like that was like the huge outrage in the 90s. So I think that's the biggest reason you don't have those.
It's weird. I don't even remember that outrage. But no, yeah, like
well, that's
what I'm saying.
That's what started the ESRB was that outrage.
Well, what I'm saying is, it seemed like something that on paper could have been like someone going like, "Oh yeah, I could see this becoming a thing," and it just never did. Like, and I guess part of the reason I don't really remember the outrage, but I'm sure it was there. The whole that sounds 100% like the reason, one of the major reasons why it didn't take off.
Well, the question is, Sam, if it didn't die out, what do you think it would have evolved into? Or what do you think would have been
haptic
better
feedback kind of thing? Like, it would have been, assuming you didn't live in a society where you don't want kids playing with guns. I think it would have turned into like a haptic thing. Like if you're shooting the gun, you would feel it vibrate and you would be aiming at the screen kind of thing. I don't know. It was kind of like a, like I said, it's a
vibrator.
Well, I mean, if you want to call it that, that's.
But also, they had the Wii U where they had the built-in light gun things to shoot at the TV.
Yeah, but that's a little. Yeah, but even then, does the Switch have that going on now?
Yeah, they have the Labo where you build a fucking gun out of cardboard.
But that's not like it's actually going to the Wii U one as well. To the what was the name of the Wii U controllers that did the. Anyways, those controllers that you swung around the Wii nunchucks, I guess, they seemed like, ooh, this is what the future is, and it never really took off.
That motion controls was my thing.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, but I think the light gun thing. I don't know.
I mean, we basically had the same thing in a weird way.
No. Motion controls and light gun are different.
Yeah. Also, light gun depends on a CRT screen, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, or the equivalent, but I'm going to disagree with you there, because there was the Super Nintendo, there was the Super Scope for Super Nintendo, there was like the add-on for the Wii where you could put the Wiimote into like the gun and you can shoot. How
many people do you know had them?
Multiple.
Maybe it was more popular than I thought.
And then, as I said, then every single arcade across wherever always has like 2 or 3 light gun games. But anyway, yeah, mine I was gonna say Nintendo has a history of kind of doing these things, like whether it be the Virtual Boy that came out and like notoriously flopped because that was like their original take on VR that just like never really panned out. But also, I'm gonna say motion controls, that was like a big one. Like the Wii came out and like the motion controls were like a huge hit, and then you had Microsoft doing their own ones, you had PlayStation doing their own ones with like the Move and stuff, and like they just never really worked. Like you had the Wii U and like you had like the Advanced Motion Plus for like the Wii U and like the add-on for the Wii, but it was just, and like it made it a little bit better, but it was just like they were always clunky and clumsy, and it was always a gimmick, and it was like, yeah, you could like swing your sword around, or you could swing like a tennis racket around, or like throw a bowling ball. But anytime you wanted to get like precise with something, you would never use the motion controls. Like you're always going for like a thumbstick or like a D-pad or whatever. And then like after that generation, like you don't really see it anymore. Like the Switch still has it. Like the Switch still has motion control, and it is used in some games, but it's not front foremost, like it's not front and center like it was with the Wii.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you remember how like in the first generation of the PS4, like when they first came out, there was like 3 or 4 games goes like, here, you use the motion control, tilt your controller to the left to do this,
and there was no rumble feature.
Yeah, and you were just like, what the heck? Why am I doing this? I've got thumbsticks. I don't know. Like I've never. I 100% agree with you. I know that's a technology that went away, and honestly, I don't miss it.
Yeah, I don't want to, like, if I'm playing a game, I just want to be sitting there. I don't want to be running
I use
around.
the motion. I might be the outlier here, but on the Switch, when I play Mario Kart Racing,
you are the
use
outlier.
The motion control. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. It gives me an extra little bit of precision in a way.
Yeah,
and it's weird.
I can see that. It's just not for me. I don't.
But it's like one of the only games I would do that on. Not that I've played that many Switch games, but it feels like the only one where it feels right.
Well, I remember playing Breath of the Wild on my friend's Wii U, and a couple of them there were places where you had to start tilting the like the giant iPhone thing that you got with the Wii U, and it was always like, this sucks. Why can't I just use it? If this had normal controls, I'd be past this puzzle by now.
Oh yeah. No, I hated doing it with the screen. Like it's kind of disorienting when you're that's the main screen that you're looking at, and then you're also turning it. No, I was talking more of like it's on my TV, and I just have the controllers in my hands. But
yeah. But that was mine. I feel like that was like a big thing that was, you know, kind of touted as a huge kind of game changer. VR, I feel like it might be another one. If people aren't gonna be willing to put resources into it, I feel like VR is just kind of gonna go by the wayside. Or I don't know, I feel like also VR is kind of like one of those technologies that gets revisited every decade or something. It's kind of like, we made better technology. Are we there yet? Not quite there. And then it's like 10 years later, hey, we're redoing VR again. Is the technology there yet? Getting there. But I don't know. I just always feel like it's just almost there. Like, but I still remember playing VR in like the 90s and shit like that. Like how far it's come since then. So I don't know. The thing is, it's like technology moves so quickly. So it's like, think about what games were, you know, even 40 years ago, 1981, what games were like in 1981 compared to in 2021.
I remember we take our Ford Model T1 up to the Lord's Manor when given the Wii. Video games back then were just like text. It's crazy how like back then you'd be like a simple little icon that was like 2 pixels by 5 pixels. You'd be like, oh my god, that's a giant dragon coming at me. I gotta take care of this. And now it's like, if that's not photorealistic, you're like, this sucks.
Well, even just like games from my childhood, like I remember them so fondly, and then you like go back and revisit some of these old like 3D games from like the N64 and from the PlayStation. And it's just like, oof, these have not aged well. So are we gonna look back on games nowadays and be like, oh man, that doesn't look like, I can't believe they look like that?
I think with the passage of time it'll become a little bit more forgiving. Like it's not, I'm not talking about Destiny, but I'm gonna talk about the other game like Bojan hates when I bring up by now. Yeah, that's right, Mass Effect. Like I think we're getting to a point where
no, it's okay,
games are starting to look good enough and play well enough that there is like you can go back and play an older game and not be like, oh god, this is terrible. You'd be like, oh yeah, no, it's a little quaint looking, but whatever. Like I think as games become with better fidelity and better just interface and systems, there will be more of a market and more of an interest in going back and playing like, oh, you know, it was really good. I really liked the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 8 or 3 or whatever it is at the time, you know. I think there will be more forgiving of it, but if you try to go back and play a game from the 80s or early 90s, it's like, ooh, I can make more bad noise sounds if you like.
No.
Give me 10 different ones.
Arr.
All right. On that note, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm going to thank Bojan for joining Sam and I on this episode.
Always a pleasure to have you, Bojan.
Looking at the future of gaming on Buffs and Nerfs. I thank Bojan for joining us very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad I didn't get banned this time. Hopefully, your bribe is in the mail, Lanza.
Wait, what? He gets
what? Nothing.
What?
You got anything to plug, Bojan? You this is your time. You want to plug something? You're our sponsor this week.
Until you get money, I'm just going to talk over you.
Rome Total War, my favorite game when I was 13, just announced a remaster, and like a sucker, I bought it seconds after I heard about it.
You've heard that I pre-bought the Mass Effect remaster.
That's Bojan's plug. I bought a thing and I regret it.
No,
he doesn't regret it. Listen to
my
him.
plug is for all the Rome Total War, the original Rome Total War fans, to rejoice.
All right, there you go.
What?
Wow.
Do you understand how capitalism works? That's not a plug. All right.
I'm plugging them.
No, you're plugging them
for free. Like a sucker.
I'm so confused.
Well, as always, I'm your host, Andrew Lanza, along with co-host
Sam Hall.
Signing off. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. As always, a positive rating on this or anything that you have consumed by the Mind Refinery is always appreciated. Have yourselves a good day.
Goodbye.